Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back, y'all. You can call me Elle, and this is my perspective. Okay, so this is going to be part two of the things that I learned in Merida, Mexico that will help me with my future country hopping slash and or moving to. So this is going to be two things. It may be, I'm going to go into more depth with them, a little bit longer with them. The first thing that I want to talk about is mold. Y'all, so when I moved into the condo, when I was actually looking at the condo, there was something in one of the rooms. Remember, it was a two-bedroom condo. And so there was something in one of the rooms, and I wasn't sure what it was. I hadn't seen it before. And prior to that, I had moved several times in the United States, never come across a space or place that had mold in it. So I am not familiar with, oh my goodness, that's mold, right? And so this space had mold in one of the rooms. And again, I didn't know what it was. There was, you know, how you have the two walls that come together and it forms a corner. So it was growing in a corner. And in the second room, there was nothing that I could spy with my little eye. And I'm looking everywhere. And so I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, maybe it was maybe like some adhesive because I have seen adhesive that's like the black Velcro-ness. That's the only thing I could think of, with me looking. I'm like, yeah, I don't really know what it is. And so fast forward with me being there, that mold, I ended up cleaning it. I ended up cleaning it and getting it out of the way and stuff as is, but it kept coming back. And not only did it keep coming back, but in the second bedroom, there was a spot, maybe, okay, so let me go back. In the one bedroom, it ended up being about 6 to 8 inches, right, of mold just growing in the corner. In the other bedroom, it was maybe half an inch, but it just kept coming back. No matter what you did, it just kept coming back. And then I had noticed, when I was changing my sheets one time, I changed my sheets quite often. But I was changing my sheets one time, and behind the bed, there was this little bitty spot. And I was like, what is that? Because I like things to be white all over so I can see what's going on. I can see if anything is new trying to hang out in my space. And so there was something that was little bitty black. And I was like, what is that? And I thought it was like a bug or something, but it wasn't. It ended up being mold. And all the spaces where there were mold, no matter how many times you would clean it, it would come back. And so I'm like, okay, like I get it. The space that I was in, um, it was humid there. And that is something that, that's going to breed mold. But I was also comfortable. I had the AC on. And remember, there's AC units that are specific to that room. It is not central air. And so I may be in this room and having the AC on for a little bit to knock the heat or to knock the humidity, but then I'm good. For the most part, I was fine with fans. I think y'all saw one of the videos that I had done where I was like, I didn't need my AC the whole time. I am someone who generally runs cold. Okay. It could be humming high outside. I'm still going to be running cold. And so fans was something that I was like, okay, this is good for me. But it wasn't good enough to knock the humidity and get the mold out. I'm also someone who prefers humid, the humid conditions over like dry heat. I don't really like dry heat. I'll deal with it, but I prefer humid heat. I prefer it to be hot and muggy. I prefer that over dry heat. Anyway, and so those kinds of things are things like I need to keep that in mind. Ideally, in a situation like that, probably central air would work, because the central air is going to be something that's going to come on in all the rooms, do what it does, knock the humidity, and go back off. The issue is that I would definitely be cold in that space because again, I did not need the air on. I would turn the air on just every now and then to knock the heat. Like if I had been gone and I come back in a time of hot, I'm going to turn the AC on to knock the heat. But then once the heat is knocked, then I'm good because those walls held heat and they would radiate heat. So if you leave the house, and yeah, because when I left the house, like if I had fans on, I would turn the fans off. The ceiling fans stayed on. but I'm just that kind of person that I don't need the air on because then I'm going to start freezing in my own house, and I don't like that. And so yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm just that kind of person. For comparison, when I lived in Austin, Texas, it could get hot there. I didn't turn the air on, right? It's just I don't know. I'm okay, open up a window or something. But yeah, the humidity allowed the mold to just grow. And if you are someone who is going to or considering moving to Merida, Mexico, consider the mold as a thing, but also I'm pretty sure it may be the way that some of those homes or houses or condos are built. Because after I left the condo, I moved to another space. That space did not have an issue with mold. And in that space, I went longer without turning the AC on. Like I may come back and I may be like, oh my goodness, it's kind of like hot like how it would be in the condo, but instead of me turning the AC on to knock the heat, I might just leave the door open and let some air come in, right? So it was just a different thing. Like I didn't need the air on to freeze myself. I just needed to knock the heat. And once I knocked the heat, I was good, even though it still may be moist or humid in there. And that is again conditions for mold. But in the second space, once I left the condo, in that second space, same habits, same everything, no mold was growing, right? And so it's just, the amount of time that I was in the condo and the mold started growing, I was in the second space for the same amount of time, whereas mold was growing in place one, mold was not growing in place two. So I believe that there may be a way that, they were constructed differently or something was going on. Um, I also think that the second place may have been older. So, those are some things to think about to consider. It's just the mold. And again, central air would probably be something that would knock that, but then I would be cold in my space. Damp red is going to get rid of some of the moisture in the air, but it's not, I feel like you need something that is going to just be constant to knock that air, not just circulating air. Because again, the ceiling fans, even though I wasn't in those rooms, the ceiling fans were still going in all of the rooms. And, there were plenty of there were plenty of ceiling fans, but in addition to ceiling fans, I may have, just had an extra fan because those help, especially when, like me, you are cleaning the floors and you want to get those floors dried a little bit quicker. And then also for clothes, because I had a washing machine in the condo, but I did not have a dryer. So I used fans to also help with that. In place two, there was no washer or dryer. So I walked to a local laundromat that it was full service and also self-service. So I would just go hang out there and wash and dry my clothes. Didn't have to worry about doing it in the home or, having a fan to do any of those things. So just keep that in mind. That mold is a thing. When I was there, not everyone takes mold as seriously as you may take mold. Some people are like, hey, just clean it. I'll just clean it and get it out of the way and we're good to go. And other people like me are just like, but it's mold. Guys, this is mold. So, just keep that in mind. How do you feel around mold? Do you feel like it's just something, oh, let's just get it out of the way and we'll be fine. We can just clean it all the time, or is it like, okay, you know what? Um, this is a thing and I've got to figure out a better way to do this. And so with me, I'd rather just this is something that's on my list. I have to essentially probably decide on a space that is not as humid as I like because I do not want to deal with a mold issue. Yes, I still will visit a place, but I feel like, sometimes when you visit a place, it may have its best foot forward and you may not spy with your little eye the mold or the potential mold problem. So, mold is something to definitely keep an eye on and to consider it. And again, I'm not sure if it is the construction of some of those homes that allowed it to be more conducive to mold growing, and or if it was just that, I should have had a different way of having air circulating through. But again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The rooms where the mold was growing, it did seem like it was definitely reacting to outside. Like if it was raining outside, then you could spy with your little eye that there was some more mold that was starting to grow. The little piece that started growing behind my bed, not even sure what that was. Like it wasn't at a wall, it wasn't, at the corner. It wasn't a corner. It wasn't near a window. None of those things. It was just like there. And then when I went outside to see what was there, was it possibly a drain hole nearby, or was it any of the, and I did not see any of those things. So I'm not sure why the mold behind my bed started to grow there. I did not eat or drink in my room. I kept all of that in the other room in one space because I don't like the idea of having food all throughout the house. That's just something that I do. So it's not like, oh, I spilled something and didn't know about it or whatever. It's not, that's not what it was. So just mold is something to consider and to look at. And then, I do know other people had been experiencing issues with mold while in Merida, Mexico. So again, keep that as something on your list. I do not believe that it is a one-off. I think that it is something that people are probably, maybe they're running their AC more, and, if you are someone who wants to run your AC more, yes, you're going to be kind of like not in the majority to run your AC all day. And then again, for me, excuse me, for me to run my AC all day would mean that I'm freezing because even though the walls radiated heat, I didn't mind it once that initial heat was knocked off. And again, it was like if I was gone for X amount of time and then I came back into the home, yes, because I'm walking and I'm in a hotness, then I'm hot and I don't want to come home and feel like I'm still in the oven baking because you feel the heat that's radiating off the walls, even inside the house. And so, I would turn the AC on to knock it in that room that I was in. But yeah, I just think I just want to make sure that you consider that and look into that. The other thing is the language. Even if you are okay with how you speak Spanish when you are in Mexico or whatever place you are going, because for me, I will be considering this for other countries that I am visiting and or potentially moving to. And so for that, the language was a thing. Anytime I was doing anything that dealt with contracts, I was bringing in an attorney. It wasn't like an attorney was expensive, but I felt some type of extra weight on me. Um, when I am in the United States and I'm dealing with contracts, I don't bring in an attorney or a lawyer, but I usually will have extra eyes looking at the document for me. But it is different when I am speaking English and everything is in English, right? Because I can go through and sometimes in a legal document, they may put some words in and you have to know what those words are, right? And so when we are talking where something is not your first language, then it's like, the translation may be something that throws you off, or it may be something completely different when you go to translate it. And again, I've given this example before, but when I was first looking in the condo, this happened in the second space too. But even in the condo, when I was speaking to the lady and we were both speaking in English. English was her second language, but she had said something and I asked her, if we could change the light because the light bulb in the bathroom was not working. It was burnt out. And so I was like, oh, can we change the light so that it works? And once it was actually time for me to move in, they changed the entire light fixture. And I do understand how can you change the light may mean change the light fixture to something different, but I literally just meant change the light bulb. And so I should have specified, can we change the light bulb? But in the United States, I'm used to saying, can we change the light? You know, the light went out. Can we change the light? You know, that kind of thing. And so, you know, it's that simple, that easy that you can misunderstand something is the same way in contracts. And so speaking to people is fine. But when it comes to contracts, like I'm bringing an attorney in, but I still feel some kind of way because in the United States, when I'm looking over contracts, I am looking over the contract, but I also have other people looking over the contract, but they are people that I know and trust. When it is an attorney, I do not know this attorney personally, if that makes sense. Like it's not someone who is um, it's someone who's just doing their job. Whereas for me, when I'm doing a contract, it needs to be, you know, I don't like this, you know, versus somebody be like, nah, that's okay. That's supposed to be there, whatever the case is. It's like, nah, I don't like this, and this is why I don't like this. And then it's like, oh yeah, let's see if we can change this, all the different things. But if it's an attorney that's looking over something and you're having an issue with something or you're not sure, it's just different when it's not your language that you are that that you are comfortable with. So I'm not sure that I'm getting or conveying that message properly, but it's just the level of comfort when it comes to contracts that are not done in a language that you fully understand, because the terminology can be a little bit different. Again, and when this is when it is not a language that you fully understand, or there can be something that is said and this is automatically understood. But again, because it's not my first language, I don't understand that, you know. And it's also the little bits and pieces that can come in. Um, and this is still language, but this is also um, knowing what to ask and knowing all the questions to ask. And to not know to ask them doesn't protect you. So let's say that you move into a space in Mexico, in Merida, Mexico. Let's say that you move into a space and you do get the thing where you get your deposit, you know, you pay this deposit, but then you have a promissory note so that you get your deposit back. But let's say in the contract, it's a plain and basic contract, you know, the general contract. And it's like, okay, everything is good. You have the notary do all the things, it's signed off, it's filed away. But what if you didn't realize that I need to protect myself a step further and say that, you know, wear and tear includes paint, you know, things like that, that I'm not responsible for. Like, don't take that out of my deposit. Like, you may not know that, and you may come across a landlord who now wants to take the I need to paint the walls over again. So while you are leaving this place, in a nice shape and everything. You left it the way that it came, but maybe I just want to paint it again. You know, even though, like for when I left, there was no need to have it painted. But what if they said that they wanted to paint and they took it out of my deposit because they need to get the house ready for the next person? You know, all the different things. There are things that can happen that you may not know that you need to say to protect yourself. And so it's just that. I think it's just, you know, understanding and coming in a little bit more prepared. So that right there is something that I was really, really uncomfortable with was the actual language and me bringing in an attorney to have my back. For the different contracts that needed to be signed, that need to be executed, and things like that. And so it's just that level of being uncomfortable. I like to have several sets of eyes on things, but the people who have the eyes on things, I need to know you have my back. Not that you're just doing a job, that you have my back. So it's just different. And so for me, my next country is either going to have to be something where it is English speaking, or, I may have to default back to, one of the languages that, I was learning while growing up and go to one of those countries, where, I can pick up and go from there a little bit more easily than Spanish speaking. But I do also have time. Because my agenda is a little full. So I do have time to not only learn a language, but to, bring in more people to assist me with said language and to test me with said language. So, language definitely be more prepared, not just conversational. To me, conversational is great in your day to day, but when it comes to contracts, yeah, we want more than conversational. We need to, again, it's more than conversational because there's going to be where you don't just read the contract. You need to know the questions to ask in order to protect yourself. And sometimes an attorney is just going to do the business transaction instead of going above and beyond and making sure that somebody has your back. My landlord, I am grateful that, the things went the way that it did. We had the promissory note. Um, I did get my full deposit back. There was a little hesitation, but I did get my full deposit back. And then after I got my full deposit back and everything was done and finalized, I had been hearing where other people were supposed to get their deposit back. And then it was, no, I want to pay for more paint to be done. I need to pay for, all these things. And it was essentially to not waste, but to use up that money so that that person didn't get their deposit back. It's not anything that they did to mess up the home, but yeah. And so once you consider that, it's like, now I need to come in with an extra book to protect myself once my contract is over. I need to make sure that we're not buying paint, that we're not needing to go buy new mattress or new mattress covers or, new this, and this. And yeah, they do have to produce a receipt, but if they don't want to give you your money back, I don't care if you produce a receipt. Like, why do you need paint? You don't need paint, but now that's less money that I have. And so just the different things, yeah. So those are my two things that, I'm really looking at, and the English speaking, and or I'm also open to just pulling in the people that will help me with a language. And I may, like I said, just default back to a prior language that is not Spanish. Prior to me doing Mexico and being in Mexico, Spanish was not one of my languages that I had known at all. And so, just that right there, language, especially when it comes to contracts, y'all. You can do the conversational, but conversational is not going to be enough when it comes to contracts. And an attorney is great, but you just need to have somebody that understands you, understands your back, and not someone that's going to be like, yeah, but that's something that can happen. Don't tell me that after I've signed the contract. I need to know that before, but maybe your attorney didn't think to tell you that, and there's no way that you would even know to ask that. So just things that, that right there. I have a lot of experiences that I did walk away from my time in Mérida, Mexico. And, it's just that's that. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. If you have any questions or anything like that, y'all put it in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until then, I will chat with y'all later. Y'all have a great one. Bye, y'all.